The US, the UK and Israel are stepping up their pressure on Syria. They have accused Syria of using chemical weapons. The war rhetoric is very similar to the media propaganda just before the invasion of Iraq in 2003. This report takes a closer look at the latest round of developments in Syria.
Well, I want to welcome
US President Barack Obama praised Jordanian King Abdullah at the White House for his support of the Syrian insurgents. Obama claimed the world cannot stand by and permit the use of chemical weapons in Syria. He also called for an investigation into the issue.
We have varying degrees of confidence about the actual use, but there are a range of questions around how, when, where these weapons may have been used. So we're going to be pursuing a very vigorous investigation ourselves, and we're going to be consulting with our partners in the region as well as the international community and the United Nations.
Similar claims have also been made by Israeli and British officials. They say there is evidence that the Syrian government may have used chemical weapons. Tel Aviv has urged its Western and Arab allies to intervene in Syria quickly. These calls have been echoed by members of the so-called Syrian National Coalition. They have called on the US to establish no-fly zones in northern and southern Syria and to launch strategic strikes against the Syrian military.
I think it's only natural for us to achieve some of the demands that we've made. Some of these demands are the no-fly zone in the north and the southern parts of Syria to protect innocent civilians. Also, we've asked for strategic strikes against Assad installations.
But Syria has rejected the allegations as false and fabricated. Information Minister Omran Al-Zubi has said it's the foreign-backed terrorists who used chemical weapons against innocent civilians near Aleppo. Al-Zubi said Damascus wants an investigation into the use of chemical weapons to be carried out by Russian experts. Other international players have also reacted to the allegations. The EU said definitive evidence is required to prove that Damascus has used such weapons. A spokesman for the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons said what Israel and Western officials refer to as evidence does not meet the standard of proof needed for the UN. And China says it is against the use of chemical weapons by any country.
No matter who uses chemical weapons, we strongly oppose it. This has been China's consistent and clear stance. Nor does China approve of military intervention in any country. This stance is also clear and consistent. China believes under the current circumstances, all relevant parties in Syria should stick to the correct path of seeking a political solution.
The Western and Arab support for the terrorists fighting the Syrian government contradicts their claims that they are seeking democracy and freedom in the region. Analysts regard the military campaign as part of a foreign-backed project to bring about major geopolitical changes in the Middle East in favor of the West and its allies, especially Israel.
Let's talk more about this with Mark Glenn with the Crescent and Cross Solidarity Movement joining us from Idaho. Welcome to the program, sir. Mr. Glenn, another media campaign against Syria with accusations of weapons of mass destruction. Just how close are we to seeing another Iraqi-style military intervention in Syria?
I don't think that we're anytime going to see this taking place soon. I see this latest development as basically arising out of the surprise that was sprung on Secretary of Defense Hagel when he went to Israel and met with his counterpart Moshe Ya'alon. And then without having even discussed this with Hagel, all of a sudden it is breaking out in Israeli media that Syria supposedly used these weapons of mass destruction. So I see this latest admission on the part of the president where even if you look at the language that he's using, he says with varying degrees of confidence, meaning that the U.S. intelligence community and certainly Obama's White House do not believe that Assad used these weapons against his own people. And so I think that what we're seeing right now basically is just damage control in Obama and his administration trying to contain what really was a dirty trick that was played upon them when Hagel visited Israel and this news was released in the Israeli media.
And what we are seeing is a media war going on with Western media having the upper hand. But what role can non-Western media play in preventing a military intervention and, of course, bringing out the truth?
Well, I think that the truth is coming out with outlets such as Press TV and others. I think that basically all that is being done is all that can be done right now. I don't see any military intervention taking place anytime soon for the simple reason that the Russians and the Chinese have made it very clear that they are firmly opposed to this. We had the NATO meeting earlier this weekend with Kerry and his counterpart Lavrov going head-to-head, and Lavrov elucidating the position of the Russian government, which is that they are completely opposed to any kind of military intervention in Syria. So I don't see this happening anytime soon. I think that the United States finds herself in between a rock and a hard place. You've got the Israelis breathing down America's neck, saying attack, attack, attack. And the United States is in this position right now where she does not particularly look forward to the prospect of possibly getting involved militarily with a nuclear armed power such as Russia.
And of course, I don't want to project this, but if in an event of a military intervention in Syria, how much do you think other countries will become physically involved, such as Russia, China, Israel, perhaps from the Golan Heights?
Well, I think that these countries are already involved. Syria would not have withstood the kinds of pressures, if we want to use that word, that she has been under now for the last 2 years, were it not for the direct assistance that she's gotten from Russia, from Iran, and from other players. So let's not be naive here. There are boots on the ground, even if it's being done in an advisory position, and the United States knows this, and this quickly could turn from a Cold War into a hot war, meaning that you have these major players involved in this. If the United States oversteps her bounds and decides to try to do to Syria what she did to Libya. Remember, she was able to get away with doing to Libya what she did because she did have at least a tacit approval from Russia in the Security Council. This time she doesn't have that, and so the United States understands that if you pick a fight with a bear, then you may wind up getting hurt. And I don't think that the United States or any of the Western countries right now is willing to risk something like this.
Indeed. Well, we'll leave it there for the time being. Many thanks to Mikhail with the Crescent and Cross Solidarity Movement from Idaho. As always, thanks for your time there, sir.